So, hey, welcome to this month's Teams Snack and Learn session, where we are here to learn how we can bring in applications that we use every day into our Teams workspace to enhance productivity. I'm Travis Anderson, and with me, as always, is Doug Moso. We're Modern Work Customer Success Managers in the retail and consumer goods area of Microsoft. And this is where we really help customers drive Office 365 adoption through education and business value. One key focus for us this year has been Teams, as many of you are aware, and really sharing the platform value. So we'll talk a little bit about what is the Teams platform, what does that mean? But we're really excited to have Talview join us today to share how they can help accelerate business and drive efficiencies and share some pretty cool scenarios that should resonate with you. So excited to have Dan join us in just a moment. As far as kind of housekeeping notes, the session's being recorded. It will also be available at that link there. You can click on that link via the new PowerPoint feature in Teams meetings. So that's pretty slick. Links are clickable now on slides. Be muted, obviously. Feel free to raise your hand, come off mute, ask questions in chat. So let's keep this interactive. And then, so these are bi-monthly. It seems like we've been doing these weekly, but we run these snack and learn sessions quite frequently. And we'd love to hear back from you on what you'd like to see in the future, and also what you thought of today's session. So if we think about
prizes, you didn't mention anything about giveaways.
Oh, I do. Well, what's the giveaway, Doug?
Well, as Travis noted, and we'll cover it later, we will have a survey, and we want to reward those that take the time to provide us some feedback and help us get better at this process, as well as help us identify other partners that you'd like to see come to the table to join us.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug.
You bet.
All right. So if you're trying to figure out what the whole team platform, what does that actually mean? So it's a lot more than just chat meetings that you're using it for every day, but it's also how you can connect conversations, documents, the applications you and your team are working on, and then incorporating business processes that can transform, modernize the way you guys work. As an example, perhaps you've co-authored a Word document or a spreadsheet on a project team channel, or you've transformed a manual business process, like an approval process, as an example, or interacted with a self-service bot to get your pay and benefits information from like a Workday or even an ADP. That's kind of how you can start to think about Teams as a platform, is bringing in those other first-party Microsoft applications as well as third-party applications that you're using today. We frequently hear that organizations struggle to drive adoption, right? In fact, there's been a Forrester study that indicated that customers who leverage applications and Teams increase user adoption by 75%. That's a big number. Teams allows you to really stay in the flow of your work and not get sidetracked by bouncing around to different applications and different windows and just searching tirelessly for information. What was I looking for again? So that used to happen to me quite frequently. And when I get interrupted, it's tough to get back on track, especially at home with barking dogs and kids running into rooms and all that sort of fun stuff. So while IT does need to allow access to many of these third-party applications in Teams, like an Adobe, a Teleview, or a Smartsheets, the business justification to request access where needed is simplified as your organization is using many of these applications already. So it's easier to administratively enable access to these apps. All right, let's get into it. Enough of me. Let's introduce Dan from Telview and tell us more about how Teams and the Telview integrations can transform the way you work. Of course, you're muted, Dan. It's probably not the first time it's going to happen today.
Oh, man, I started on mute. Good, strong start to today's session. Excellent. Well, Sanjo Jose was born in rural India to a family with modest means. He experienced firsthand the discrimination and limited opportunities arising from his upbringing and social status. Those life experiences drove Sanjo to rise above his circumstances and successfully pursue a college education. Sanjo then went on to found Talview to level the playing field for every individual to build the best career for themselves. I'm Dan Arnoldson, Vice President of Partnerships at Talview, and I thank you for joining us today as we talk through our Microsoft Teams integration and some of the challenges that we see our solution addressing. So Talview, if we move on to the next slide, if you could move that for me.
Sure. Or also, if you want to take over, you can do that.
I can take over.
There you go. Yep.
Even better. So Talview is a solution for human resources, specifically talent acquisition. And some of the key challenges for recruiters are listed here. All organizations want to hire the best, and they want the candidate yesterday. And unfortunately, hiring is often slow, both for the business and for the candidates they're recruiting, as recruiters spend large amounts of time screening resumes and applications, doing phone screens, setting up skills assessments, scheduling screening calls with hiring managers, and then finally bringing the finalists in for live interviews. And each step of the process is time consuming and results in a horrible candidate experience as the candidate waits at each step, not knowing where they stand. Our data shows that 6 out of 10 job applicants drop out of the process as it takes too long and they don't know where they stand. They just get frustrated and leave. And when you're trying to hire the best, you can't afford to lose them because your process is inefficient. So recruiting is an inherently collaborative effort with the recruiter, the hiring manager, and the evaluators working closely together. But that collaboration is often inefficient with one-off emails that are hard to find later on, hallway conversations, phone calls, multiple systems that need to be viewed to make the process work. And there has to be a better way. And that better way, I need to take over. All right, there we go.
You can take over.
I got it. Perfect. Man, it's like I haven't used Teams before. This is embarrassing.
Well, the new PowerPoint feature is a little bit different.
No, I haven't used the PowerPoint. It's a neat capability. So Talview was built to help recruiters handle time-consuming and repetitive tasks that take time away from the personal interactions with applicants where recruiters' skills are best used. A recruiter might look at 250 resumes for 10 seconds each to source a candidate. And given the short amount of time given to each resume, the recruiter's objectivity is often impacted by looking for superficial information, like whether a candidate came from a prestigious university or from a city the recruiter's heard of. Not to mention the mind-numbing repetitiveness of having to go through so many resumes. Talview utilizes artificial intelligence, Azure Cognitive Services, to speed the screening and assessment of candidates in an objective manner while controlling for bias. You can't eliminate bias, but you can definitely control it, and AI gives you that power. This enables talent acquisition departments to look at many more candidates and to potentially uncover another Sandra Jose who might not have made it through a recruiter's cursory screening and assessment. Talview uses AI to screen resumes, provide automated proctoring of skills assessments, and to analyze a candidate's interview to extract behavioral traits, similar to a Myers-Briggs personality exam. Behavioral insights is super helpful in high volume hiring for retail and call center jobs. You can quickly identify who might be strong at a inside sales role versus someone whose traits might be better suited to a customer service role. The last portion of our platform enables live video interviewing, and this is where Teams comes into play with Talview. So before we look at Teams, I want to quickly show you where Talview and Teams fit into the recruiting process. Recruiters typically use an applicant tracking system known as an ATS to capture candidate details, and put a lot of the logos of the top applicant tracking systems that are out in the marketplace. ATSs were built to help organizations capture data for regulatory compliance around equal opportunity and other government mandates. But surprisingly, they aren't great at facilitating the screening, assessing, and interviewing of candidates. Today, there are many siloed processes and systems used in setting up a live interview with a candidate, resulting in a lot of manual effort to communicate, collaborate, and stay on the same page. The image above shows several of the big pieces involved in facilitating a live interview. The recruiter schedules interviews by finding free time for both the candidate and the evaluator. The recruiter sends the evaluator the resume and job description before the interview via email. And I think all of us who've done interviews before know that you're searching through your email looking for those details before you get ready for your call with the candidate. And then the evaluator joins via video call, hopefully on Teams. And then after the interview, the evaluator emails their feedback back to the recruiter or calls the recruiter, who then has to manually enter it back into the ATS. It's a very inefficient process. And this is where Talview comes in. We, along with Teams, create a system where we integrate with ATSs to eliminate those silos, thus reducing the time and effort to schedule and interview a candidate. And we do this by streamlining the processes and data flow to ensure that everyone is kept on the same page, with Microsoft Teams as a key partner in connecting all of these systems into a single application where you don't have to go searching high and low to find the information. You only need to access, or you only need to input data once, and it flows into the systems that it needs to be in. So this is all about streamlining, better collaboration, and creating a single place to go in order to get your work done so that you don't have to bounce back and forth between multiple systems. Now, Talview has two applications that you'll find in the Microsoft Teams App Store to help make your hiring easier and faster. We have Teleview Interviews, which puts the entire video interviewing and hiring workflow into Microsoft Teams. I'll be demoing that here momentarily. And the Talview chatbot, known as Talbot, that simplifies the scheduling, rescheduling, and cancellation of interviews so that a recruiting manager doesn't have to go in and reschedule an interview. You can actually have a hiring manager use a simple bot interface to go in and see what interviews they have coming up and make changes to those interviews or cancel those interviews. So Teams really simplifies the process, increases collaboration, and is truly a game changer in the recruiting space. We're the first to market with this and super proud of it. So I am going to switch over to Teams and do a demo for you.
Sweet.
Sweet. There we go. Whoop, but before I do that, I forgot I got one more slide. I'm forgetful. That happens occasionally. So the Teleview Interviews for Microsoft Teams, as I said, brings your recruitment process into a single place. You can attend video interviews and provide candidate feedback without having to leave Teams. We're reducing manual processes by having an evaluator's feedback flow directly from the interview in Teams. And if you look at the bottom screen of the two screenshots we have, you can see a evaluation form next to the candidate being evaluated. All of that automatically flows back. No more emails, no more cut and paste, no more lost data. Truly streamlines and speeds up the process. We also simplify interview preparation by bringing together the job description, the candidate's resume, and a link to the interview in a single place. So as you're preparing for that interview, you don't have to run around and try to find the latest resume or the latest job description. We're going to give it to you in a single place, up to date with the latest information that's in your applicant tracking system, so that everyone is working from the same data, the same information. Super powerful.
Hey, Dan. Looks like we have a question from Matthew. If you'd like to come off mute, feel free.
Sure thing. And you can go by Matt. It's just fine.
Okay.
So question on the integration. So we're obviously implementing right now, and we will not be utilizing the Teams out of the gate. That's kind of like a phase 2 iteration.
Yep.
So what I'd like to know, though, is from a mobile perspective, will the Talview apps be available through the Teams app as well? Or are they exclusively disconnected at that point?
That is something, Matt, and I know you from a previous engagement, that I will get back to you on. I don't have that answer at my fingertips. I believe the answer is yes, but I don't want to mislead you. So
sure.
I will take that as a follow-up and have your account manager follow up directly with you.
Perfect.
Thanks, Matt. Great. I talked about connecting these silos, and one of the things you can do is you can update candidate details in Teams, and that will flow back into Talview and into your ATS so that, again, there's a single source of truth. You make a change in one place, and it flows across all of your systems. And lastly, security and privacy is super important in today's day and age, always has been. And because we're built on top of Azure, built on top of Microsoft 365, we inherit a lot of the end-to-end security, administrative control, and compliance that Microsoft provides, as well as we work very closely with Microsoft to build our solution to ensure that we're following their best practices. So now I'm ready for my demo. I was one slide early, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go over to Teams that runs on a different tenant, and I'll show it via browser here. And can everyone see my screen?
We can. Yep.
You can. Oh, great. So I have a screen here with the calendar view of Microsoft Teams. And this is something that I hope you're familiar with if you're a Teams user. This calendar is synchronized with what you have in Outlook, and it gives you the availability of getting your calendar where it's most convenient for you. So here I've got an interview appointment on my calendar that I just set up before we came in. And if I double click on this interview, I want to show you how we can enhance this meeting request with the Talview for Interviews application. Right now, this just looks like a regular Teams meeting. You've got the title, you've got the participant, you can check the free busy information and the auto suggestions. I'm going to be interviewing Kiara on this. And where this becomes really cool is Microsoft Teams in November introduced a new capability called meeting extensions. And I can enhance this meeting with the Teleview Interviews app. It's optimized for meetings, so I'll go ahead and click on this, and I will add this to my meeting. Now, if you're not familiar with how this works, basically this demo I'm showing you is available right here in the listing, so that helps people get up to speed quickly and add this. But with literally the click of a button, I can enhance this meeting or this this interview with the details. So I am going to search for Kiara, and there she is. She's applying for a front-end developer role. It's going to be a technical interview, and I'm going to add the panelists here. So this would be something that a recruiter might do to list all of the people that are going to be involved in the interview. And let's group Sharon, and we'll go ahead and click that. And here's where the magic happens. Once this gets set up, and we're on a development environment, so it's a little bit slow here, that meeting that I just created now has a tab. And that tab provides all sorts of helpful information. It has the job description. It has the candidate details. So if the candidate doesn't show up, you can email them or call them. It lists who the other panelists are and whether they've completed their evaluations or not. It allows you to submit your evaluation for that candidate. And if there was a resume in the system, it would show up here. In this instance, there isn't a resume in the Talview or ATS system, so we can click on Upload Resume. And I will go to my desktop, which is a mess, and search for, there's Kiara's resume. Click Open, and I've now uploaded that, not just to Teams, but that also flows into Talview's system and then into your applicant tracking system so that, again, everyone is on the same page. So before the interview, rather than going through my email and searching for the job description and the candidate's resume and who else is involved, I have a single place to go. Simplifies things, keeps everyone on the same page. And when it's time to join the meeting, I don't have to jump out of here and go to my calendar and find the meeting and click on the link. All I have to do is click join. And we'll allow our microphone We'll continue without audio and video because we're here. We'll join now. And I'm right into that meeting. And we've got some recording turned on. So we're waiting for others to join. As that happens, we can conduct the interview here and provide the feedback directly from a feedback form that would pop up once the person has joined us for this interview. So I'm going to leave this right now. And that is the essence of what we've created. This is a super, super simple integration, but it's game changing. I don't have to go to some third-party system to conduct a video interview. I don't have to send emails afterward. All of the information is in one place. I can provide my feedback from Teams, and that flows back to the recruiter in real time, which speeds up the process, eliminates manual copying and pasting, just a huge game changer. So we're super excited in Microsoft terms to do that.
And as far as adding the Teleview Interviews app to the meeting, so now the interview team, they have access to that Teleview Interviews app before, during, and after the meeting to kind of talk about that whole hiring process, right? And all
Yep.
they need do they just need to click on that Teleview Interview button in the meeting?
That's all I have to do.
Okay, great. Now,
Hey, Dan, as a follow-on to that, sorry, Travis, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, as far as implementation of that app into Teams, is this something you are working with customers on for IT to integrate for certain groups within the organization, or are the individuals doing it on their own? What do you suggest as far as best practices there?
Yeah, so most of the organizations that we work with are large organizations, and they often use different evaluation forms and different processes depending on the type of role. A technical role might have different requirements than a sales role. And so we work with customers' IT organizations to customize the experience, customize the forms to ensure that the right groups are getting the right process for how they've defined how they do their hiring for those roles. So we work with them on that. We work with them on providing access to our app through whitelisting it, through the Teams admin console to make sure that the right people have access to the right information, and you keep people away who don't have a need to know.
Well, very good. That, not on purpose, but Matt asked a great follow-on to my question.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Matt, do you want to come off mute, or do you want to should we just read it for you?
I can definitely come off mute. So, yeah, we're just looking to understand if that can be like an automated flow, more or less, so that it takes less manual touches of an interview to set that up.
Yep, and that's something that we're working with Microsoft on. The first version of the meeting extensions capability, where we add that tab, did not have the APIs necessary to do that, but it is feedback that we've given directly to the team's engineering team, and something that they're looking at helping us implement either through Microsoft Bookings, which is a neat capability in M365, or using Talview's existing M365 scheduling plugin.
Okay.
It's not there today, but it's something that we do intend to implement as soon as the capabilities are there on the back end.
Sure.
Maybe a follow-on to that, Dan, would be, so in my own Teams view, if I were just to go to the App Store, in the lower left-hand corner, right, and then add the Interviews app for my personal view, would that help with that experience, or do I still need to go into every meeting invite and add that app?
Today, you have to go into every meeting. And that's, again, another conversation we're having. It's really neat technology. It's the first version of that technology. So the experience that we've been provided via the Teams API is kind of that 80% use case, but those last 20% are really the key things to make it a better user experience, scale it a bit further, and add capabilities like Matt brought up, around automating the scheduling process. So We think there's huge value in what we have today, but there will be bigger value in the future as we continue to enhance this. And we believe this is the future of video interviewing. People aren't going to use dedicated third-party tools. They're going to want to use Teams. That's where they do all their work. And by building it directly on top of Teams and continuing to extend that capability, we believe that's the future of our industry in the remote hiring space.
And I think you probably answered Craig's question around tools to assist with the interview scheduling component. So whether that's bookings or with the Talview app as well. So I think that answers Craig's question.
Yep.
Or Craig, if there's the other part of Craig's question, I'll just read it, was just to find or pick open time slots, but maybe that's where bookings or the Teleview app can also help directly.
Yep, and that's what I was mentioning there, is the Talview app itself has integrated scheduling where candidates can provide their free busy, and that overlays it with the Microsoft 365 Outlook calendar or Teams calendar. But the API doesn't expose it yet. So anywho, we are super excited by this. Customer interest is high, and we're beginning to deploy this, and we will continue to enhance it. And if you have ideas about how to make it better, we are open ears. Now, one last thing before we let you go, and I know we're almost at the bottom of the hour. If you go into Talview and try that app, try to add that tab, and you don't have an account, you can enter your details, and we can sign you up for a 45-day free trial of the Talview backend. Now, if you're an existing customer like Matt, that won't work for you. We're already building it, but if you are a new customer and interested in this, that option exists for you. So thank you, Travis and Doug, and everyone who attended. Really appreciate you making the time for us today.
Bring us home, Doug.
There you go. Not a problem. And Dan, we'll say thank you as well for your time. Great solution to bring forward. And this is just an example of one of the many that we are highlighting in Teams to create that single pane of glass for you or your end users to leverage going forward. So as far as how we go forward here and what's next, I mentioned the survey at the beginning. Travis has got some fun prizes in his garage that he can send to you. I'm joking. It's not going to be tools and things he doesn't use anymore. But we have some nice prize giveaways. Install the Teleview Interviews app. I think we showed you how to do that as Dan walked through his demo. The recording will be available soon, and you'll see a follow-up note for myself and Travis just on how to access that, as well as other resources. And lastly, Travis and I are just two CSMs that work across the U.S. We're part of the retail and consumer goods team, but there are many of our peers that are out there. If you have additional questions, reach out either through this chat or directly to us or your CSM, and we'll be happy to talk with you about this solution as well as many of the others that we've talked through going forward. And we have a couple of new sessions coming up for us as well, both with Smart Sheets and Dynamic Signal. You should have seen those invites already, but if not, we'll be sending on a follow-on here tomorrow afternoon. And we'll look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks all, and we can hang on for a minute if folks have any other questions, but thanks so much and see you next time.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Travis. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Matt, and everyone else.
I'll go ahead and stop the recording.